Kristen, can you talk about On the Road in your role?
I'd read the book when I was a freshman in high school, and there was no way in hell, like no portion of hell where I thought that I could ever play a part like that. And I would have done anything on the movie. I would have done craft service on the movie. So when I got the part, I did a really irresponsible thing, which was take a role that you really don't think that you can play. And she, only in that she does sort of, she represents one of those people that you want to like just run after, and she really lets her face hang out, and considering she's a girl in a book that you're not always too with what's going on in her heart and in her mind. Really, she's on the sort of outskirts of the story. It was difficult for me to just think like there were so many dots for me to connect before it made sense for me to play a girl that was so completely exuberantly, outwardly all the time, just generously giving herself. And but at the same time, I think that the only reason that you identify with, the only reason you're drawn to things is because even if those aspects are really buried deep, they are there somewhere. And this thing, more than anything I've ever done in my life, like shook me up and was like, bring it out now. And yeah, so that was fun.
Not only was there not a script, I think I hadn't even read it when I started begging everybody on my TV show to let me out for the days to go shoot. I got a call on a Saturday morning from a friend who had to drop out of it, and she said, you're going to get offered an opportunity to work with these lovely people. Just say yes. And I was shooting season 3 of United States of Terror. I'm like, well, unless it shoots on the Paramount lot, I'm probably not going to be able to do it. And of course, it shot on the San Juan Islands off the coast of Seattle, starting on Tuesday. But I had seen Hump Day and was just such a fan of Lynn Shelton and the director, and this alive, vital, moment-to-moment thing that was happening on the screen. So I didn't even see the the treatment. I just started calling producers saying, please, if I come back every day, if I go shoot all night and get back on a ferry and a plane, can I do it? And miraculously, they worked it out. So for me, it was more that I was in love with Emily Blunt and Mark Duplass and Lynn Shelton. Like, there was a moment where Lynn Shelton said, really embarrass Emily in this next moment. But, and then they're like rolling and you're like, what, embarrassed? Okay. And I remember and you have to trust it like we all do. With scripted material, you trust that flash of intuition when somehow some God somewhere sends you something. And I just remembered a hideous story about one of my girlfriends on the beach, and I looked at Emily and I said, remember that guy who wanted you to cut your bush? And she turned like 40 shades of purple, and I was like, that's what I want. That's why I did this movie, because that's the beauty of improvisation, So that's why. I just wanted that experience. And then the character became somebody that I loved, that was me, and somebody else, because you had the confines of, she just broke up with her girlfriend and she wants a baby and stuff.
I haven't had a typical experience working with a director. I feel like that's part of the challenge of what we do, is how to do this role with these people in this context with this director. Those are all different pieces of the puzzle. But there is certainly nothing like working with Quentin Tarantino. He's in the scene with you. I mean, he's often not behind the camera. He's often like next to the lens of the camera, like saying your lines with you. Like, it's very intense. Yeah, because he plays all the parts and he is all the different department heads, and he also really honors. He hires people who he trusts and who he wants you to soar and do your best work, but he wants to be there doing it with you.
The times that I'm like mostly nostalgic for are times that I haven't lived in, and so that was the initial. I mean, it was probably the first. It's probably the first book that really got me reading. Even it opened so many doors.
I'm also very taken with this group of women, because so often people talk about acting as if, oh, it looks so easy, and anyone can do it. And people come to Hollywood and go, oh, I want to be an actor, I've been told I'm really good. And I'm so struck by the extraordinary intelligence with which we approach the craft of it.
Each of us has talked about like the craft, but also the magic, like the things you can explain and the things you can't explain.
The magic of it. And that's what I mean, but it's so nice to be smart. Isn't it nice to be really smart? Because I hear how smart we are and how we get in there and craft it. And you talk about the slivers, and you're talking about, you know, the aspect of improvisation and how freeing that is. And you're talking about, you know, the historical aspects of it and the commitment to it, and the recognition of the line, this text, and then subtext. You know, people think that we just kind of get up and do this. As my grandmother used to say, you know, what is for you cannot be for you. And this life is obviously for us. It's magic.
There is no way I could have done Django Unchained without having Olivia Pope in my life, because having Olivia Pope playing arguably the most powerful woman in America on television gave me somehow the creative permission and courage to be somebody so disempowered, who's equally strong, but in such completely different ways. Because there were things about this character, I mean, I felt the same. I felt so, when I got this role, when I said yes to this role, it was because I loved the story, and I knew the story had to be told, but I didn't think that I was maybe the right person to tell it, because it terrified me. I mean, it scared the crap out of me to play somebody who has to endure the things that this woman has to endure. And in order for Django's character, for that character's rise into heroism to mean something, the rest of us had to be willing to be in the depths of hell so that he could be the hero of something. And you know, shooting on a real slave plantation and just kind of being in the historical demons of that, kind of what some people call America's original sin, was so terrifying to me. But I would have days where Jamie Foxx would lean over and say, "How you doing, Olivia?" to like remind me that when this is over, I get to go back to being that modern, powerful woman, you know, who does own property and runs her own business, and symbolizes sort of, in some ways, the answer to Broomhilda's prayers. I mean, Broomhilda dreams of a world where a black woman could have a say about what happens in the White House and have her freedom and own property and vote and be able to live wherever she wants and read and have that not be against the law, you know. So for me, these two, I mean, I shot the film in the 9 months in between season 1 and season 2 with almost no time in between it. And so it was very, they to me are very, they're opposite ends of the spectrum, but they rely on each other for grounding in a way.
Women go through stuff the older they get, and they get deep, you know what I mean? And their feet are in the mud, like they're on the earth, and they have stories to tell. And it's hard to find them sometimes in our business.
If you play the piano or you play the flute, your instrument is basically the same. I mean, when you go, you may have to tune it, but you're going to the same instrument for the entire career that you have as an artist. The paint doesn't necessarily change, but we are changing every single day. So our instrument, to say, have you shown every facet of yourself? She has a different facet this morning than you had yesterday.